Hey, how you doing today? I am Takina Coleman. In today's video, I want to speak to my standards. Those of you who are going through, maybe your marriage is on the verge of divorce. Maybe your spouse is threatening divorce. Maybe your spouse already left the home, or maybe you were already served divorce paper, or maybe you have already, went to court and the divorce is final. Okay, and now you're wondering, what do I do? You might even be second guessing what God said, right? Let's talk about this, okay? Now, one thing I want to just point out to everyone, okay, is that whenever I begin to get a flood of messages around the same situation, I know that's a demon, okay? I have been getting emails of, marriages are being under attack. We got inside of our Facebook community, we have some that are springing up saying, the marriage has ended in divorce. Over here on the YouTube channel, we got, people commenting saying how the marriage, is threatening a divorce. All of this is letting me know that the enemy is busy. The enemy is who is attacking your marriage, okay? So we must begin to, stay on our post and come up against this enemy that is coming up against your marriage, okay? Now, it's not that God lied. If your marriage ended in divorce, if your spouse is threatening divorce, telling you I'm about to serve you divorce papers, do not panic. Because sometimes when you start changing up how you used to be with your spouse, when you start holding your spouse accountable, when you start giving your spouse boundaries, right? When they used to just showing up any kind of way, when you start changing up and holding your spouse accountable and building boundaries in your marriage, your spouse is going to resist that. Your spouse not going to want that. Okay, they're going to want the easy way out. They're going to want what was easy in the past. They don't want accountability. Okay, and so as a result of you holding your spouse accountable, they are going to that spirit of fear is going to manifest in your spouse, and that spirit of fear will manifest in ways where now your spouse is saying, I want a divorce, or they serving you with divorce papers. Okay, you got to understand what's going on here. Okay, yes, we're dealing with demonic spirits, right? But we also dealing with resistance of changing, right? Your spouse is resisting changing for the better. Your spouse, they know they need to be better, they know they need to do better, but they are resisting it, right? And so instead of changing for the better, now they want to fight against you, and or even use these scare tactics on you, okay, to get you to stop holding them accountable or even to take away your boundaries, okay? But don't move, don't budge, okay? Because this is what's needed in order for, this is how we partner with God in bringing about that marriage restoration, okay? Now, if you are wondering, did I hear God wrong? I thought God was going to restore my marriage. But here's the thing, if God has already told you that He's going to restore your marriage, then no, you didn't hear wrong. Okay, you got to stand on that. You have to stand on His word all the way to the end until you see what God promised you come to pass. Okay, and another thing, if God has been giving you dreams, showing you in your dreams of the new spouse, right? Showing you how you and your spouse will be in the future. How the two of you will be in ministry. Whatever dream God has given you, if they are future dreams, that is a confirmation that God already is working on restoring your marriage. Okay, so again, you can't allow your spouse with their threats, with their scare tactics. You can't allow how your spouse is showing up to cause you to now move into fear and even stop doing the very thing that's needed in this marriage restoration. Okay, accountability, boundaries, standards, right? In order for marriage restoration to come about, you got to change how you've been showing up in your marriage. See, God is showing you what your marriage was built on, sin. Okay? You have to identify the sin that's showing up in your marriage. The sin can look like pride, it can look like adultery, the sin can look like, it can show up in selfish ways, right? The sin can show up in, like I said, selfish ways, or even using you, right? Using, your spouse can just be using you, for everything. But when you ask for help, they never available. They never can extend that help, to you. right? So you have to begin to identify, okay, what was my marriage built on? Was it built on a rock, or is it built on the sand, right? And everything that's sand in your marriage, it has to come crash it down, okay? So if you see some immaturity showing up in your spouse, that's required for you to hold your spouse accountable. Okay, accountability is the very thing that's going to help your spouse mature, okay, into the husband or wife you need them to be in this marriage. Okay, if you see an irresponsibility showing up in your spouse, again, holding your spouse accountable and also not enabling, their irresponsibility is what's required. Okay, and I know when I talk about accountability, I get a lot of pushback from this, but it's okay. You know, um, I speak from experience. Okay, I live an accountable life. Okay, and I hold people accountable that's in my life, and I see the results from it. So this is why I'm able to speak on it. Okay, um, but know that, like I said, know that this is an attack of the enemy, right? But also know that if God has promised you marriage restoration, He's going to bring it to pass. He's going to bring it to pass. And it may not come to pass the way how you think it's going to come to pass. In my 9 stages the God ordained believing spouses go through before they see their promise manifest, stage 5 talk about the death stage. Even in the marriage has to die in order for God to raise it back up to life. It's the sand that has to die. Okay? Understand this. The sand that's in your marriage, the pride, the lust, the adultery, the irresponsibility, the immaturity, okay? The selfishness, all of these things has to die so that God can rebuild you and your spouse on a solid foundation. Even if that means the marriage is now heading or threatening divorce. That doesn't mean, let me tell you something, divorce, if your marriage has ended in divorce, God still has the final say so. See, a lot of you are panicking because you already been served the divorce papers, or maybe you already went to court, and the divorce is final, and you're panicking. You don't have to panic because God has the final say so. You don't know how God is going to move in the future. After this divorce, you never know how God is going to move in your spouse. God could be sitting your spouse down, talking to your spouse, like, okay, so you went on ahead and served this divorce papers to your husband or wife. This is what you say you wanted. Now sit in your mess, right? Understand, during this separation, God is speaking. God is bringing correction, okay? God is letting your spouse to see what they chose, okay? And if God said He's going to restore this marriage, understand and know for a fact that this marriage is going to come back around full circle, okay? Nothing is too hard for God. Nothing is impossible for God. Okay. So even if it does end in divorce, if God said, "This is the person I want you to be with. This is the person who I chose for you to do life with. I'm going to restore this marriage." He's going to restore it. Okay. You got to allow God to take both of you through this process. Okay. He's building both of you. He's growing both of you. He's bringing correction, to both of you. Okay. So again, try not to look at the appearance of things. Don't be moved by, how your spouse is showing up, the things they're saying, the things they're doing, them serving you divorce papers. Don't sign it if you don't want to sign it. You don't have to, if your spouse is forcing you to sign it, you don't have to give in to that, if that's not what you want to do. But also understand, that the way how your spouse is showing up in these ways is a demonic attack, okay, that's influencing your spouse, to behave this way. So this is where you have to stay on your prayer post. This is where it is not just about prayer, because after you pray, now it's time to do some work. Now it's time to continue to work on yourself. Now it's time for you to step in purpose. Now it's time for you to heal. Now it's time for you to, start working on improving yourself. Start working on, if you in debt, get out of debt, right? Because improvements, that's the very thing that's going to catch your spouse attention. When your spouse sees you're elevating, your life is getting better, you becoming a better woman or a better man, your spouse is going to that's catching your spouse's attention. They see you growing, and they don't want you to grow without them. Okay, so we gotta, we're doing more than just praying and fasting. After you pray, after you fast, now it's time to, do the work. Okay, it's time to heal. It's time to learn your role as a husband and wife. It's time to learn how to respect your husband. It's time to learn how to submit to your husband. Whatever the challenges were in your marriage, it's time to grow in those particular areas, okay? Because this is how we partner with God in bringing about this marriage restoration, okay? We must change and become better individuals so that we can have a better marriage, all right? So I just wanted to encourage everyone, spirit, just know that no matter what you see, okay, no matter your spouse serving you these papers, do not be moved. If God said that He's going to restore your marriage, it is so. You have to go through this process with God and allow God to show you that He is in control. You got to allow God to show you that this is His marriage, and if He said He wanted, He's going to restore it. You have to believe that He's going to do it, and it's not going to always come together or be restored the way how you have in mind. Okay, so don't give up on God. Stay in covenant with God. Continue to believe. Continue to walk by faith and not by sight. Okay, but also make sure you're doing the work as well. Okay, so with that, I am Tequila Coleman. I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care.